So once again, dear Talmidim, Rabbonon v'Talmidei Hoin, it's a pleasure to be here again. And whenever I have the opportunity to be in this beautiful Beis Medrash, it really is inspiring and uplifting. And this is not only a Beis Medrash, but really a Beis Medrash in which people come, Mekol Kitzvot Tevel, corners of the world, with one goal and one aspiration, just to come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to come closer to Avinu Shebeshamayim. So usually when I come here, it's Yom Paga. It's either before Yom Tov or in the middle of a Yom Tov. Ma Yom Mi Yom Mayim. Why did you call me to come here today in Rosh Chodesh Shvat? So this week's Parsha is Parshas Boi. And in Parshas Boi, it's about the continuation of the 10 plagues, of the Nisim v'Neflois that our forefathers experienced by Yetzias Mitzrayim. And the Ramban at the end of this Parsha is so fundamental. I think most of my Talmidim, if you wake them up in the middle of the night and you say, Min HaNisim HaGedolim, they will be able to quote the Ramban. Min HaNisim HaGedolim v'Hamifrosomim, Adam modeh b'Nisim HaNestorim, Sheheim Yesoid Kol HaTorah Kulo. From the famous and well-known supernatural miracles, one comes to understand the day-to-day miracles, the concealed miracles. Shehem Yesod Kol HaTorah Kulo. They are the basics of our entire Torah. She'ein lanu chelek b'Toras Moshe. We have no part in Toras Moshe. Ad sheneida shekol dvareinu v'mekreinu hem nisim ve'ein be'em teva v'menhoga shel olam. We have no chelek, no part in Toras Moshe until we understand that everything that envelopes us, everything that happens to us is miraculous and not natural. The Ramban wasn't a batlin. The Ramban, besides being the greatest teacher of Torah of his generation, together with the Rambam, the two Rabbeinu Moshes, was somewhat intelligent and learned. Everybody knows that the Rambam was one of the greatest physicians of his time. What is not so well known, the Ramban was a physician as well, and that's what the Rashba writes in two different shuvas, that the Ramban was a medical professional. So the Ramban wasn't a batlin, and the Ramban knew, yes, nature is nature, and there are laws of nature. So what does the Ramban mean when he writes, Kol dvoreinu v'mekreinu hem nisim, ein behem teva v'menhagoi shel olam. There is no nature. If the Ramban was a physician, he knew somewhat about medicine and biology, and he knew about astronomy. And he knew that the sun always rises on the east and sunset is in the west. But he also knew, and that's what he wants to teach us, who controls nature, who created nature, who sets nature into place each and every moment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and only HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is takif ubal yacholes ubal hakochot kulam. There is only one ultimate force in the world, ultimate force, and that is only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are miracles of concealment, and there are obvious miracles. And the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu commands us and expects us and requires us to remember the magnificent supernatural miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim is to learn from them about the miracles of concealment, about the hidden miracles. So we've been through 15 months of war and tragedy and profound sadness. We all would be elated if it would be breaking news in all the outlets in the world. All the waters in Gaza and in Lebanon suddenly turned into blood. And that would be 100 times more shocking than the story with the beepers in Lebanon. And a week later, once again, news that is even more shocking. 1 billion frogs came out of all the waters in Gaza and Lebanon, and they overran these two countries, and everything, they disrupted life, and they stopped exactly in Tzion, what is it? The border in the south, and on the Gvul of Lebanon, it didn't happen. We weren't Zeiche, and don't expect it to happen. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu says in His Torah, "V'nochi hastir punai b'yoyim ha'u," a time will come in which we will no longer merit open supernatural miracles. And that is why it is important that we remember Yetzias Mitzrayim, that we be mechazik in our total conviction, the miracles of concealment. Everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We know nobody lives forever. We know that the sun rises in the east, goes down in the west. And the reason that is so is because that is Ratzon Hashem. And that is Ratzon Hashem in every given moment. So I say, the Ramban and the Rambam were aware that there are laws of physics and chemistry and dynamics and astronomy and astrophysics and astrodynamics, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu could create 1,000 worlds, and each of them with a different set of laws of physics and biology and chemistry. And He could also create 1,000,000 worlds that would be spontaneous, with no laws in nature. And one day the sun will rise in the east and go down in the north. Tomorrow it'll come up south and go down back south. A day later, there will be no sunrise and no sunset. And the world will be totally chaotic, unpredictable, and spontaneous. Everything is b'yad Hashem. And ultimately, as the Rambam writes in the very first principle of the Yud Gimel Ikrim, Hu levado, oseh, v'aseh, v'yaseh, lekol hamaasim. Hu levado, boreh, v'manhig lekol habruim. And that is the fundamental principle that we need to learn when we learn about the 10 plagues and about the miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And then the Ramban writes, and this is maybe even more fundamental than the principle we just spoke about. Tachlit hayitzira harishona, ve'ein le'el elyon chefetz betachtoinim. The goal, the objective of creation. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the heavens has no other will of this world. Ki im, only, sheyedeh ha'adam v'yodeh le'eloikov shebara'oi. Man should realize and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was created. Sheyedeh v'yodeh, to know and to give thanks. So every God-fearing Jew, how does he start Avodas Hayoim? What is the first thing we say when we open our eyes in the morning? What does Moida Ani mean? I don't know whether you're all somewhat versed in Lashon Kodesh. Modeh Ani, is it Hoda'ah or Hodaya? Admission or gratitude. There's a sugya in Bava Metzia and Shavuos and Ksubis, Modeh b'miktzat. So when the claimant says, you owe me $1,000, and the defendant says, no, I owe you $500, not 1,000. That is the sugya of partial admission, Modeh b'miktzas. When we say every day in the morning, Modeh ani lefanecho, what do we mean? We admit or we thank. I think Modeh ani lefanecha indicates admission. Thanks would be Modeh ani lecha. I thank you, not I thank before you. But when a defendant admits partially to a claim, he admits before the Beis Din, before the court. He admits before the claimant. Modeh ani lefanecha would indicate that this is hoda'ah, not hodaya. She'echzarto bi neshmosi. So I think moidani means two things, hoda'ah and hodaya. Exactly what the Ramban writes. Tachlis hayetzira harashoyne sheyeda ha'adam v'yodeh. So before you say thank you, you need to understand, why am I thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What is it that I am grateful for? You open your eyes in the morning, you need to realize. Don't take it for granted. I open my eyes in the morning because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided this morning that I deserve another day. The fact that you went to sleep by night doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get up in the morning. Check it out with Mada, with Zaka, with Atzola. Many times people go to sleep by night and they do not get up in the morning. So when you open your eyes in the morning, the first thing is think, realize, and thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu decided today in the morning, you got up at 6 o'clock, 5 to 6, Kadosh Baruch Hu decided he deserves another day. Let us give him another day. And we get up and we recognize, before we say thank you, we recognize and we admit, you are the one, She'echzarto bi nishmosi b'chemlo. And when you realize, and when you feel that in the depth of your heart, it is only natural that we say, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So then Ramban writes, Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world for us, and why did he create us? Sheyeda ha'odam v'yodeh le'elikav shebaroi. Now, whenever I quote the Ramban, I say with amazement, entire Sforim were written trying to explain Tachlis Abriya. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu create this world? And the Mekabolim have their ideas, and the philosophers have their ideas. And the Ramban puts it all into one line, one simple line. Ein le'el elyon chayfetz b'tachtonim ki im sheyeda ha'odam v'yodeh le'elikav shebaroi. He should realize, and if he does realize, to give gratitude, to say thank you. Did anybody say this before the Ramban? Yes. Who? Who of the great philosophers? The Novi Yeshayahu in Perek Mem Gimel. Am zu yotzar tili tihilosi yesaperu. And all the Rishonim on the spot say, Amzu yotzar teli, I created this nation, tihilosi yisaperu, kedei shetihilosi yisaperu. So we are the ones, our duty, our obligation, our destiny is to declare tihilosi yisaperu. To make everybody realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world and don't take anything for granted. So according to the Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Mem Vav and Orach Chaim, when you get up in the morning, it's not moida'ani. What is the first tefillah we're supposed to say every morning? Elokai, neshama shenosato b'tahoirohi. But the Rosh on the spot, quoted in the Tur Siman Mem Vav, says, because our minig is to do Natilas Yadayim in the morning, and we don't want to be Moitzi Shem Shemayim before we do Natilas Yadayim, so we don't follow this Gemara, this Shulchan Aruch. And that is why we start with a pasuk that doesn't have Shem Hashem. Where does this minhag come from? I think the very first source is Rav Moshe ben Mochir in Sefer Seder Hayom. That is where we first find the Nusach of Moida'ani. So that is, instead of Elokai and Shomesh Shenosatobi, it is the same theme, the same content. But Amoida Ani, we don't say Shem Hashem. And therefore we could say that before Natilus Yadayim. So tomorrow morning when you get up, bear this in mind. Moida Ani Lefonecha, we admit, nothing is to be taken for granted. Most people go to sleep at night and they wake up in the morning. But that is only because Kodesh Baruch Hu decides that most people deserve to wake up in the morning. So when you open your eyes in the morning, you should be full of gratitude. But before saying thank you, realization and admission. I opened my eyes this morning because HaKadosh Baruch Hu decided to give me another day. So thank you, Hashem. Thank you for giving me one more day and one more opportunity to serve, to learn, to daven for one more day. So, precious Talmidim, just came today to share some fundamental thoughts about this week's parsha. What is it that we take away and we learn when we read and when we learn about the miraculous events, the amazing, supernatural, shocking Nisim v'neflois of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and from them we derive chizuk and amunah and betochen for all the coming generations to understand everything is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and nothing happens just because it happens. There are laws of nature, but the one that stands behind these laws of nature steadily, every second, every moment, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'hu levado, asa v'oseh v'yaseh l'kol ha'ma'asim. Ki ha'meitzeischa mi'eretz Mitzrayim harenu neflois. We should once again see miraculous events, and nisim l'mala mederech hateva b'bias Moshiach tzedkeinu b'mheiro v'yomeinu. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this Ohr Somayach production. To find out more and to partner in our mission, please visit ohr.edu.